Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, and hello. The Anglo-Sikh wars of the 1840s were fought between the East India Company and the Sikh Empire. To help understand the significance of the last sovereign Sikh state, it is worth looking at those individuals who helped to lay its very foundations. Historians such as W.M. Gregor, writing in 1846, to Priya Atwal, writing in 2020, highlight how Sada Kaur is artful, ambitious and intrepid. Sada Kaur's early life was quite uneventful. She was born into a Jat family in 1762. At the age of 6, she was married to the 9-year-old Gurbakh Singh Kanhaiya, the eldest son of Jai Singh Kanhaiya. At the age of 20, Sada Kaur gave birth to her only child Mahtab Kaur, who in 1796 became the first wife of Ranjit Singh. However, what is quite eventful is how Sada Kaur, by sheer tenacity, ability and a dash of good luck, was able to maintain her own power until 1821 and was instrumental in helping to consolidate Ranjit Singh's power. The Sikh missals or clans often clashed, and by the time of her father-in-law Jai Singh Kanhaiya's death in 1793, the Kanhaiya and Sukrachakia missals had argued over war booty, plundered each other's territory, insulted each other within the holy confines of Amritsar, physically clashed with one another on a number of occasions, and had resulted in the death of Sada Kaur's husband Gurbakh Singh in 1785. In fact, Sada Kaur was present on the battlefield and had to escape in disguise barefoot in order to save her life, and eventually sought refuge in her own fort roughly 15 kilometers from Amritsar. However, it was all of the aforementioned that ensured the rival Misaldars or clan leaders disagreed on the marriage between Mahtab Kaur, Jai Singh Kanhaiya's granddaughter, to Mahan Singh Sukrachakia's son, Ranjit Singh. However, this is where luck seemed to help. Mahan Singh died in 1790 and handed charge to his son, Ranjit Singh, and Jai Singh died in 1793, handing charge to Sada Kaur. Sada Kaur had ensured before her father-in-law's death for the exclusion of her remaining brother-in-laws. The matrimonial alliance Sada Kaur secured between the two missals was perhaps her most masterful step in her pursuit of power, even though the marriage itself was ultimately a failure. Nonetheless, Sada Kaur continued to play a major role in Ranjit Singh's life. She had a direct hand in the removal of Ranjit Singh's mother, Raj Kaur, and was a key kingmaker in the trajectory of Ranjit Singh. For instance, in September 1798, Sada Kaur helped rally several Sikh chieftains to combine forces with Ranjit Singh to help defeat Zaman Shah, who was now on his 4th invasion of India. In the battle that took place, Sada Kaur stood shoulder to shoulder with Ranjit Singh and many other notable Sikh Sardars of the 18th century. Then, in 1799, Sada Kaur helped Ranjit Singh to annex Lahore. Sada Kaur was particularly helpful in diplomatically ensuring Jait Singh Bangi left the Lahore fort peacefully, something that certainly helped Ranjit Singh. Once more in 1800, Sada Kaur aided Ranjit Singh in battle, accompanied him in his missions to Gujarat, present during Ranjit Singh's coronation in 1801, and helped Ranjit Singh gain control of Amritsar 4 years later in 1805. She had built the emperor's throne but had limited power herself, something she was well aware of and wished to amend. When she could see her plan to use the estates of her grandchildren in order to establish a solid claim to Ranjit's territories was going to fail, she used her cordial relations with the British to help herself. Ultimately, Sada Kaur was unable to organise an insurrection and resulted only in perturbing Ranjit Singh. In October 1820, Ranjit Singh sent an order to Sada Kaur to bestow a jagir on her grandchildren, Sher Singh and Tara Singh, out of the extensive Kanhaiya territories. Sada Kaur refused and threatened to cross the Sutlej and place her estate under British protection. Once again, this simply further exposed her treachery. However, coaxed by her son-in-law, Sada Kaur joined him at Sadara, compelled to execute a deed agreeing to make the necessary consignments for the princes, and then was imprisoned by Ranjit Singh. Thus, with the removal of Sada Kaur, local dynasticism disappeared, giving place to consolidated monarchy of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Sada Kaur eventually died in 1832 at the age of 70 in Lahore. In conclusion, the Lahore Akbars of May 1822 provide a fitting scene between two of Sada Kaur's maidservants and Ranjit Singh. When they arrive to greet him, they are met with a reply of Sada Kaur is not my mother nor I her son. In response, the maidservants asked the Maharaja if he had forgotten how his mother-in-law had helped him on the battlefield and made him what he was. As seen, her courage, perseverance, and diplomacy were key in helping her expand her own influence of power and ultimately aid in consolidating Maharaja Ranjit Singh's power. More significantly, it is clear that the support of Sada Kaur was of great use and arguably decisive to Ranjit Singh, most notably when mastering Lahore and Amritsar.